So for week 8, we're going to continue moving along, and we're looking at our second grade standards for phonics and word recognition. These consist of distinguishing long and short vowels, knowing spelling sound correspondences for common vowel teams. And this is where things get interesting when you can have word families or rhymes perhaps spelled different ways. Decoding two-syllable words with long vowels, words with common prefixes and suffixes, identifying inconsistent but common spelling sound correspondences, and then reading and recognizing grade appropriate irregularly spelled words. An absolute favorite resource that I've gone to then is, again, A Word's Their Way. This is the sort book for within word pattern spellers. You can tell that I used mine so much I had to rebind it. What I like about this collection of sorts is that not only does it do our short and our long with vowels, but then it gets into variations. Here's a favorite. When you have different spellings, as in heard, ear as in clear, or ear as in dear, or then you have the variation of EAR sounding like so you have two combinations with the same sounds but different spellings. For this sort book, I'll be giving you access to this list. These are all the different sorts that are contained in the within word pattern sort. So if it's something you're interested in getting. So there are 6 sorts that focus on short and long. Common long vowel, less common, R influence, our diphthongs. Then we get into clusters, high frequency words, contractions, and then when we talk about adding endings for plurals. Now, a common routine then that I put in place when I taught second grade was pretty structured. This is week 1. But I always had words that I was adding onto our word wall. These became our high frequency words that I expected my students to spell and know. And then I always had a word with a word family in it so that we could use what we knew about one word to make other words. I'd introduce the words on Monday with sentence strips, and then I would have either the word covered, and then I would uncover perhaps the blend so that students could then guess. So this was an activity actually called Guess the Covered Word. It came from Pat Cunningham's Working with Words block information. Sometimes I would give them to the students like this so that we could do a little bit of a dictation where they would write the words out that they were doing. And then I would have them write their wall words and their transfer words. And then they always selected with their parents bonus words that they would do, and they would send them back to me. So they were still working on spelling words that they wanted to learn in that way. And then I had a little bit of a homework routine. They got the current word wall as we would build words on it. But I want to focus on this particular activity called Reading, Writing, Rhymes. So the deal is that you have an onset deck cards. And so when I made my onset deck, consonants were in blue, my digraphs in green, and then blends were in yellow. Now, I haven't trimmed these yet. I can so I can have individual cards, or I could give students an entire strip. The way that I would use this in my second grade classroom is my students had whiteboards at their desks, and we would then decide, we would then work with whatever word family it was for the week. So in this particular week, it was ACK. However, this activity would work really well for you to guide students through the idea of having 2 spellings with the same long vowel sound. And so then You could put the onset at the beginning. Gail, oh, well, that could be a name. And so we would start sorting and listing. Or gale, to describe wind. You could have hail, like a hailstorm. Or hail, like hail to the chief. Oops. But the idea here then is that you're exposing the students to the idea of same sound, different spellings, so you're integrating homophones with this. Getting into, of course, reinforcing and reading nonsense words. It is something that students can do independently. However, I always like to guide the children so that we could point out correct spellings because they'd like to spell things often incorrectly. So as we're thinking about working with long vowels, we notice that second grade is probably a big year where we really kick it up with our use of long vowel phonograms to be working with.